Hello, dear friends, and welcome back to another video, or welcome if this is your first time here. My name is Carly. This is Owning Authenticity, and this is another update on the Aries North Node, Libra South Node that has been transiting since July of 2023 is when the nodes entered Aries and Libra, and will change signs in January of 2025. So we have still all of 2024 left to work with this transit. It's been a couple of months since I put out an update or a reading talking about the Aries North Node, the Libra South Node, and how that evolution is happening in the collective at this time. And I say also, and in addition to, because there's like a whole playlist of content that has come before about the Aries North Node, including like 8 hours of a deep dive into the transit itself, and then lots of, I'll show the playlist here. There's playlists for each individual nodal group where I basically go through and talk about how to work with this Aries North Node, Libra South Node transit for each of the 12 nodal groups, right? This is the one that's happening in the transits in the collective right now for everybody, but how an Aries North Node person might work with it is very different than how a Libra North Node person might work with it. So if you're interested in checking out those videos, those playlists are linked in the description box. And the other piece with that is I wanted to mention too that you can work with those messages as kind of like just a timeless collection of messages. So if ever you see like, hey, there's the Cancer North Node and it keeps popping up, it keeps serving me this video, maybe there's something in there that, wants to give you a piece of Cancer energy wisdom because your Saturn is in Cancer or something like that, like maybe there's something else going on that is timely, even though that may not be your specific placement. Like you may not be a Cancer North Node, but there's still something potentially in that chapter for you. So I invite you into those playlists. Everything is linked in the description as far as like all of the messages to really get the full force of value that I've delivered on the Aries North Node transit so far. And today we are back with yet another haunting message of take up more space, not less. Take up more space, not less. Take up more space, not less. This is in my head. Like it just won't go away. It's just with me all the time. And it's very related to authenticity as far as like it feels like a very practical practice of of how to be our authentic self. And taking up space is a concept that is so baked into the fabric of being authentic. And all of that is like congealing at this time where what is happening in my consciousness lately is that I have been in a real brain fog. Okay, like I just like can't access executive functioning to save my life. And I can't even say that brain fog is all bad because it is taking me away from like kind of charging full force ahead like I normally do. And it's kind of putting me on this pause. And in the pause, I'm able to see something beyond the path that I was on to begin with. And so that again feels very related to taking up more space, not less. It's like if we'll just continue on in the pattern of our beingness, we continue to kind of take up the same amount of space that we always do. It's like if we're going to take up more space, what does that really mean? It means new patterns. It means breaking your old patterns of like the pattern of how much space you take up. And this is a really fun story. I'm super glad just came up here in my brain. A couple days ago, I was at lunch at my granny's house, and both my parents were there, and my Aunt Vic, who's my mom's sister. And she and my dad were giving my mom and I a hard time because we were giving too much information to the questions that were asked of us and taking up too much time. Like one of the quotes was like, wasted half the meal on that story. And in that one, I came back with, oh, I'm sorry, did you have an agenda that we're not getting to? Did you have other plans for how this lunch was supposed to be spent? Did you have burning stories inside of yourself that, we're holding down the floor over here and you need the floor? I love to hear stories. I'm ready to hear your story right now. What is it that you want to say? Nothing. Like, okay. And so then that was the first time. And then the second time I'm asked another question and I answer it in the way that's fun for me, because that's how I do my life, is like I do it in the way that's fun for me. So somebody asks me, what's that? And I begin telling the story of here's what that is, and here's some fun information about it, and here's the reason why it's cool, and here's why that surprised me. I just start talking. It's not like anybody was saying anything else. Like, we're just sitting here chewing food and I got asked a question. Okay, let me tell you guys a story. And at the end of it, again, the consensus from these two is that was way more complicated than the question that was asked, and without missing a beat, in response to being called complicated or complicating the question that was asked or whatever, it just like came right out of me. I didn't realize that's how little you cared. I'll remember that for next time, and I'll keep it shorter because, clearly that's what you have space to hear. And they were like, oh, no. And I'm like, you asked the question. Okay, you asked an open-ended question and then were mad about the answer that came back to your open-ended question. Maybe not mad is the right word, but like giving us a hard time, me and my mom. And so, yeah, I had the nerve to tell the long version of my story to these people who asked me a simple question. And rather than backing down from how much space I had taken up, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to tell your story? Oh, I see. You just don't care enough to hear the long version. Okay, that's no problem. I don't have to be my full authentic self in this space. I didn't realize that you didn't want to see it, but now I know. And I don't have to put it here. Okay, thank you and good day, sir. But like, I didn't back down. I was like, okay, good to know. Good to know. My authentic self doesn't fit here. Noted. Like, no big deal. I don't take that personally, right? Like, I do what's fun for me. I take up more space, not less, right? Like, I honor more of my authenticity, not less. And that is why I've been on this brain fog these last couple weeks and have done some really cool writing, like some really channeled writing. Like, if you're keeping up on the posts on my channel, I wrote a whole ebook in like 48 hours. It just like came out of me. So like, I can't do anything on purpose to save my life, but by golly, I can write a whole book in 2 days. So like, is it really a big deal that we go into brain fog, that we lose our ability to function, and then random shit pops to the surface for us to like break our own patterns of beingness? Like, is it okay if we take a little detour off over here and we take up this space over here and we go into a deep rest cycle over here? We honor what is deeply and as fully as possible. We allow what is to take up as much space as possible. And this brings me to another really satisfying concept that's been floating in my consciousness, especially these last couple of days, is like shedding the need for consensus, right? Like taking up more space, not less, largely by not needing consensus, But also it's like the more space you give to yourself, the less you need consensus. And so it's kind of like this self-feeding circle that like the more you don't need the consensus, the more space you give yourself, and the more space you give yourself, the less you need consensus, and the less you need consensus, the more space you give yourself. Ooh, it's beautiful just spinning there. Oh my gosh, like it's so good. So that concept of like not needing consensus, like what does that mean to you? I would love to know, like what does that stir in your consciousness? But needing less consensus, and it kind of like ties back to that whole like, I got asked a question and I answered it in the way that was fun for me, right? Like I didn't stop and sit there and be like, well, you know, these people really like one-word answers, so I'm gonna sit here and put my answer down into a one-word answer. No, I just went for it. I just gave myself the space of like, this is my fun version. This is the version that's fun for me. And when that version was rejected or ridiculed, or whatever word you want to use to describe the hard time giving, it's my least favorite one of all to describe that. Like, I was just giving you a hard time. Like, fuck you, dude. Like, with your hard time. Like, I see you trying to project your shit onto me, and I'm not taking it. But, like, how do you want to look at it? Because do I even need their consensus? You know, like, I don't need you to agree that, like, this is my fun way. This is the way that is the most fun for me. Like, I didn't realize you cared that little. Like, if that's all you want to hear, then fine. Like, I don't need to spend my energy to tell the long version if you really don't want to hear it. And so later, it was so funny because she asked me another question that was an open-ended question. And I was like, gosh, like, I really don't know how to put this story down into a small enough package for you. And I just refused to tell her the story. I refused to answer her open-ended question because, like, clearly you don't want to know. And everybody laughed and moved on. She didn't dig because no, she did not want the long version. And I called it and I was like, you don't want the long version? I can only tell a long version. So we better just skip that question. Pass. Thank you. So, you know, like, not needing consensus also gives you the freedom of like, just because somebody invites you to something, you don't have to go. If you don't want to do it, I don't want to do it the short way, you know? And like, that's what you want from me, but I don't want to do it like that. Then I'm just not going to do it. And I don't have to show up to the thing that you invited me to, you know? Like, you don't want my authentic self. You only want this teeny tiny little version that can fit in the teeny tiny little box that you have for me inside your own brain. And if I don't fit in there, then that's no problem, but I'm not going to shrink myself so that I do fit inside your box. I do not need your consensus. I'm going to take up more space, not less. And so that brings me to this part, which is, oh, my nose has been so itchy this morning. Which is taking up more space, not less, and finding or creating the safe places for you to do that, right? Like, nobody says that you have to take your show on the road and show it to anybody, any random person. Like, that is not what it is about. It's about creating or finding the safety that allows you to bring your authentic self up and out of yourself over time. The only way that it really can be is like excavating it over time, creating the safety for you to be able to do that. And if somebody is not willing to be your safe place, I cannot recommend enough, please do not force them. Like, if they're not capable of being your safe place, then do not be vulnerable in their presence. You will not like how it ends. Like, that's just the most practical advice I can give you about that. Is like, if it's not safe, don't reveal. Okay? If it's not safe, don't reveal. If you don't trust, don't reveal. If it's too sensitive for a bad reaction, don't reveal. Like, that's just how I roll, and let me share that with you for the purpose of your contemplation as you come at your own life. But this whole idea then of sensing out where is a safe place and where can I express my right here, right now self as fully as I want? Where can I take up more space, not less? And that actually like was really charged by the experience at lunch the other day with my family, but also brought me into a really interesting contemplation around owning authenticity and the channel that you are currently watching as you're watching this video, and how owning authenticity was created as a safe place for me to be able to explore my full authenticity as much as possible. And I have done that for over 2 years now, posting videos on this channel. And I'm very proud of the body of work that you will find on this channel. And it does go all the way back to day one. I have not hidden any videos whatsoever. There is a huge progression, I feel like at least, of like my ability to be on camera, my ability to channel, my ability to deliver a point. Like there is a huge growth arc that you can watch on my channel if you go all the way back to the beginning of my content. And I feel limited in this space. I feel a certain degree of safety in this space that lets me express myself to the degree of safety I feel in this space. And there is, especially these last couple weeks, in this brain fog of like, I can't do what I normally do. There's only what is. The stuff that's coming up, it's like it's not the normal stuff that I want to put on my Owning Authenticity channel. And the Owning Authenticity channel is supposed to be for me to explore my authenticity. So if this stuff is coming up, it's part of my authenticity and it deserves to be explored. But it feels too sensitive for the level of safety that I have on my public facing Owning Authenticity channel. Take up more space, not less, but only do so in the places where you feel safe to do that. And so all of this has congealed into I am opening up a members only side of Owning Authenticity, where there will be a paywall, where the content on the public facing channel will continue same as always, as far as like if it lands in this ballpark, the ballpark I've been posting from for 2 years, so like trust me, there's plenty that's still going to be coming out on the public facing channel. You do not have to subscribe to the channel membership, but on the other side of those paywalls, there are 2 currently. Maybe those memberships change themselves up in the future. We'll see. But currently, there is one level for members only videos, and then there's another level, a higher paid level for 2 Zooms each month, where we can actually come together face to face on a Zoom and have a conversation with whoever is subscribed to that level of membership. And all of this coming back from take up more space, not less. All of this coming back from my desire to be my most authentic self, to not need consensus or permission from a single other being to take up the space that I want to take up, to create the space that I want to create. Like basically the channel memberships, the members only videos are the place where when things come up that do not fit in the space that I have built, the safe space that I have built through public facing Owning Authenticity, if something comes up that's outside of that, mostly meaning it's coming through on a lower frequency, it's coming through outside of my normal high flying energy, it's coming through sadness or despair or darkness, or like I can go to some really not very pretty places. And on Owning Authenticity on the public channel, I transmute every bit of that darkness into sparkling light. And that is what I try to put on these videos, onto the Owning Authenticity public side. And I need more space to express myself authentically. And there is so much that is coming through so fast that like I can't transmute it fast enough to capture it into this public facing place. And so that has all led to this beginning of opening up the members only side. And you know, like basically you're not going to lose anything if you just keep watching the public side. Like it's going to keep being what it's always been, ever evolving and changing. Like don't try to nail it down. As soon as you do, like, you know, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to like put something different out there. But this members only side is where I feel like I can be an even grittier, more raw version of myself that I am technically ready to be. I just need the right level of safety to let it come out. And I am making this video after I've made 2 of the members only videos. And let me tell you, like the level of catharsis of letting myself speak and be heard and seen, even if only by myself so far, right? Like at the time I'm recording this, nobody else has ever laid eyes on those videos, but like letting myself have a voice from those odd frequencies. Oh, I do not need consensus to take up space. I do not need anybody else to witness me to be willing to witness myself. So having the members only side, I expect we'll be having a lot of different kinds of conversations. Like it's called the leading edge, the members only video. And then the higher level subscription is the Sacred Circle experience, where we'll meet on Zoom for anybody who's wanting that extra level of engagement. But these are the spaces that I personally want to open up. This is the space that I want to create. This is the level of safety that I want to create. And so in order for me to take up more space, not less, I have to give myself more safety, not less. I have to lean further into the places that feel even more safe for me and lean even further away from the places that do not feel safe for me. If a certain place wants me to be smaller, the place is allowed to want that, right? Like the place in nature is allowed to say, you don't fit here. The place is allowed to say, I have this much space. Do you want to get in it? And then we get to say, yes, I do. No, I don't. Right? Like we get to take our energy and either use it on figuring out how to shrink ourselves down to fit our ass in that teeny little box, or we can say no thank you and use our energy to create whatever is a mirror reflection of our authentic self right here, right now. Even if that is some funky ass frequency that you have no idea, why do I feel so blue? Like I am melancholy a good freaking chunk of the time. Like I am in darkness more than I'm in light. And the only thing that I try to put on my Owning Authenticity channel is the light, you know? And I explore a lot of dark concepts in the content that I put on the public side. Like I go to dark places, but I feel like I wrap it in a light frequency. I wrap it in a sparkle, in a perspective that has found the nuggets of wisdom. And this members only side where there's even more safety, I feel like what I'm coming there with specifically that is not on the Owning Authenticity public space is my mid-process glory. Like, I don't have any fucking answers. I don't have some bright, shiny conclusion that I can leave you with right now because I don't fucking know. You know, like, I'm just as lost and confused as anybody else ever was, okay? That's all I've got for you right now. And so sometimes, though, I gotta think that's like the most validating thing that somebody could possibly hear is like, I don't get it either. You know, like, I have moments, too, where I feel completely just obliterated in my mind, like where my brain fog is so intense, where, you know, like whatever it is, that I think the members only side is where I'm experimenting with expressing even more of the humanness that is inside of me, even more of the true nature that is inside of me. Like that's one of the the first videos that I've made is this contemplation around like what is our true nature and what is man-made reality, because acknowledging the things that are man-made reality is incredibly freeing. Recognizing like what is nature, how does nature behave, and what has man invented to try to give themselves some semblance of safety, but now it's mostly just like a box that people want me to get in, right? Like what rules are out there that are man-made, that's not how nature works. Nature just is, right? Like nature just bees. Nature grows, nature takes the resources that are available to it, and nature does whatever it can with those resources. Like that's just all there is. And then as humans, we start inventing things through our comparison, through our urge to measure up with each other, to our urge to compete for the illusion of like limited resources. Like there's so many reasons why man has constructed so many concepts that actually are shooting us in the foot as a human species. And the first video that I made in full, like the style of videos are going to be like intuitive themes that are floating in my consciousness right now. And the reason they're in the members only side is because they're half baked, they're kind of pointy sometimes, they're a little sharp sometimes, they're kind of ugly sometimes, but that's life, you know? And like, if we want to embrace our authentic self, it truly has to be all of it. But there's a big difference in my book as far as like how safe I feel to present what has solidified inside of me, which is what is on the Owning Authenticity public side. That's stuff that I've figured out, you know, like I've come to some clarity inside of myself and it feels really good. Let me put it out there. On the members only side, kind of like behind the paywall, in the dark, in the intimate setting of knowing who is there, knowing who can find that content, it gives me a level of safety to be more vulnerable with my in progress, messy version where I do not have any answers and I can still talk through the confusion that I got going on, and maybe somewhere in some of that is a little nugget of clarity for somebody, right? Like we're all just walking each other home, and me sharing my authentic self feels like the most important thing that I need to be doing in my life. First witnessing it myself and then letting other people see it to the degree that those other people are safe. And so take up more space, not less, but pay attention to where you are safe and where you are not. And take good care of yourself, protect yourself in the spaces that are not safe for you, right? BYOS, bring your own safety. You have your back, even when the people around you do not. And like a bloodhound, like get really good at figuring out, like, am I safe to reveal what it is that I want to reveal? Because I want to reveal it, but trusting that I am safe for them to receive it, like that is a very different thing. And so maybe especially for anybody who's still watching this, maybe the reason for this message at this time is something to do with your old outlets of self-expression offer a certain degree of safety, and there is a new outlet that wants to emerge that is even more safe, that will let you express even more of your authentic self. And I also add that as far as like, you know, if you don't, like if you want to express your authentic self but you feel held back in that, I think the ingredient to focus on is safety, right? And that's where, I got to give this little nugget to somebody the other day, and it just popped back in my head, where privacy is greatly underrated, okay? Like your first and foremost safe space should be in an empty room by yourself, right? Like technically every single one of us can find a safe place. I see a mile-long list of caveats to that, but like every one of us can technically find a safe place if we can find a safe place within ourselves. That's a good way to say it. Like if we are safe with ourselves, then we are safe in the world, because we can always retreat to privacy. We can always go back to where we are only with ourselves, and witness what it is that our authentic self wants to show us right here, right now, even though nobody else feels safe enough to witness it with me. Like, that is real. We can be safe for ourselves. So possibly even this new outlet that's even more safe is simply you in the privacy of your own company, letting yourself say more things out loud. Or maybe there is like what I've described as far as like, we're going to do members only. We're going to set up this whole other space where I can go even deeper into my authentic expression, even like the messy in progress part of it, because I feel there is an added layer of safety there. And maybe it is a expanded practice of finding a safer place out in the world or creating that for yourself. One little tip I'll give you there as far as like starting this channel, Owning Authenticity, is that I still to this day do not connect it back to like the Carly Wharton online persona. Like, if you Google Carly Wharton, you will not get to Owning Authenticity, and you will get to a lot of other stuff, but like Owning Authenticity is not part of it. And someday maybe those things link back up, but the reason I did it was because this is not something where I need to be seen by every single person in my life. I want to express myself, and I feel like the anonymity that the internet provides to like set up a YouTube channel and start posting on it, and just don't tell the network of people who know who you are in real life. Like, just go on the internet and be anonymous and say what you want to say and get comfortable expressing yourself in a place where the only people who are listening are vibing with what it is that you're talking about. So already Owning Authenticity as a channel, as a place for me to make videos and stuff, it has so much more safety than, say, like my personal Facebook page. I post like literally nothing on social media as far as like under the name Carly Wharton. But under the banner of Owning Authenticity, you see there's nearly 600 videos. There's thousands of hours of me expressing myself and just not telling the people in my real life. Just doing it in private, because that's the level of safety that I require. And now Owning Authenticity is a platform. It's awesome. There's so many people around it that the mixture of energy in the space is growing more and more and more diverse as more and more people come in. And that is giving birth to this next layer of creating another intentional offshoot of the space where I have even more safety, even more privacy to express myself as fully as feels good. Because in this time of the Aries North Node and the Libra South Node, the name of the game is taking up more space, not less. Take up more space. What does that mean to you right now? I would love to hear in the comments how you are taking up more space in your own world, even if you are simply expressing more for your own self to be able to witness, right? You're still taking up more space in your own consciousness, and even that deserves a big giant hug, in my own opinion. So I would love to hear down below. Take a second, like the video on your way out, subscribe to the channel if you are interested. If you're interested in owning your authentic self, if you're interested in a safe place to practice our leading edge of our authentic self-expression, the public side of Owning Authenticity is here for anyone who wants to dabble in those waters, and anybody wanting to take it to an even more raw, real, gritty place. Check out the members only options. Check out both the members only videos and the Zooms. Highly recommend. I would love to have you in that space. If that's something that you feel aligned with, you're more than welcome to come and go on a monthly basis, however you want. I'm holding that space, because that's what I want to do. That's the level of safety that I need to express myself in the way that I choose, in the way that I like to do, in the way that is fun for me. And that's really all the Aries North Node wants, you know, like the Aries North Node and our inner child. And like, what do you want? What do you want? What are you craving? Right? These last 2 weeks of brain fog and not letting myself make videos, like, I want to express myself. I want to talk. And it's like, well, but you're not ready because you're not on the right frequency. But I want to talk. Sorry, not right now. But I want to talk. Like, here we are with the members only options coming out of that, because our authentic self will always push its way through. Oh, dear friends, until next time, you take such good care of your beautiful self, and so will I.